beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Astara and I'm an angelic communicator and clairvoyant. And it's a full moon when I'm recording this tonight. And I've just been doing the very first meditation with these beautiful divine feminines who came to do the first meditation with me. Thank you for that. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because here we've had Archangel or Ascended Master Melchizedek working with us. Um, and so I'll just put him there with the candle. And when I came home tonight from doing the meditation, and also then I went to a singing group, it's all very busy where I live. And I just felt really elated. And I had this kind of download about the masculine energy because I go to my singing group to actually heal a lot of my masculine energy. So this is something that I've been working with quite consciously for quite a long time. And most people I'm learning don't feel the split between the masculine and feminine, whereas I do. And there are certain reasons why I feel that. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But when I worked using acupuncture and energy medicine, and even in my readings, I can literally feel the feminine field and the masculine field and begin to work on it. Now, I did a lot of healing on my feminine field, and that's carried me through most of my life. But my masculine field was a very different story. It took a lot of healing and work, and I'm still working on it. But it's interesting in this twin flame dynamic how, if you're a divine feminine, you're seeing your masculine reflected in the behavior of your twin. They are sacred mirrors. They are sacred mirrors working with us. And it's interesting because when I see my twin doing what he's doing, I'm like, yeah, I can really relate to a lot of that. And actually, I have a lot of forgiveness for it, even though it kind of drives me mad as well. But I'm realizing that a lot of the healing I've done on my masculine field has been preparing me for this journey. So there's something I want to talk about today, which is about the awakening of the sacred masculine energy. Now, just like the divine feminine, you have this in your template. It's part of who you are, and the bringing the divine feminine through into this world, it maybe has been quite a challenge. Now, if you think that divine feminine is being a challenge, I can only tell you that the sacred masculine energy is a lot harder to bring through because it first needs the purity of the divine feminine to be able to then anchor this energy in. A lot of readings I do, particularly with masculines who are trying to work with bringing this energy through them, they find it very difficult to be in this world. They find it a very challenging thing to be present in this world. And I found that when I was doing acupuncture and I was working with two streams of people, one would be women who wanted to get pregnant or with menstrual issues, and suicidal men. These would be my two streams. So I didn't advertise for that. In the end, I specialized, but they would come to me, and it's been an interesting journey, kind of understanding that process. So this is going to be quite a deep video about healing, about sensitivity, about the return of balance, and trying to acknowledge what is happening on the planet right now as the return and the awakening of the sacred masculine energy. Now imagine masculine energy and then purify it, purify it, purify it till it's its purest form that you could possibly imagine, its purest form of template, and then allow it to come through you as like an essence. And that's the sort of energy we're going to be talking about today. Now, I do run workshops on this, and I think I've got one coming up in November online. So if you're interested in that, go to my Instagram link tree, and we just have a really great 2 hours where we work with beautiful ascended masters and angels helping to give us a sense and a feel of what the sacred masculine energy feels like. And when I've done this in workshops, it's been really wonderful to have people's feedback because if it's an in-person workshop, I notice that even the energy in the room completely changes and it's a completely different vibe to the feminine energy. It's often very still. There's a lot of stillness. There's a lot of coolness. And there's a heightened sensitivity of mind. It's like coming into the present moment in a very delicate way, but a very conscious way. And it's quite hard to explain, but when you begin to balance it with how the feminine feels, which is often energized, embodied, it has this kind of life force energy to it. It's often moving, a quality of holding and warming. the sacred masculine is a very different frequency. And I would say if you're watching this video, maybe yours is awakening. Maybe this is your time for your awakening of your sacred masculine. Now, I made a very conscious decision to begin working on my sacred masculine, and this was, I'm thinking now, I'm dialing it back. My older daughter is 12, so I've been working with this for probably about 11 years, and I'm getting closer, but it's a very difficult journey, particularly if there's a lot of energy blocks on your masculine, uh, if you've had a lot of ancestral issues, which a lot of us have, and also we're working on the masculine collective. Because unfortunately, the masculine energy has been very distorted here on Earth. It's been much more distorted, I believe, than the feminine energy, and there are reasons why that is. Firstly, a lot of distortions come from I would say interplanetary intrusions, like off-planet entities and races that come here and they don't recognize the feminine energy because a lot of them don't have feminine energy in their places. A lot of them come here because they don't have the ability to reproduce. They've lost the connection with the life force energy and the Christ energy, and so they look for other places like here to be able to infiltrate and be able to reproduce and keep their species going. So I know that all sounds a bit weird, but and it is all in the mix. This is all in the mix. So if we just step back a second, why has the masculine been so profoundly traumatized? Why, from even from birth to when they're growing up, why has the masculine had such a kind of intense focus on destroying their receptivity to love, uh, destroying their receptivity to their emotions, controlling and holding their focus, distracting them, pulling them in, pulling their life force energy into all sorts of distractions and slavery, pulling their sexual energy, pulling their mind energy, pulling their physical strength, putting, why have they been so attacked? I would say it's a concentrated attack on the natural, authentic masculine energy. And when we look at the feminine energy and all the things that have gone on with the feminine energy, I would say, and you can say I'm wrong, I don't mind, put it in the comments. I don't mind a good philosophical debate on this. I would say the masculine's been more attacked than the feminine. And this has created a massive distortion, which we're now trying to deal with, and we're trying to learn how to heal it within our beautiful men folk and also our in us, in our masculine. Because I know that even these wonderful feminines, we need to balance this within us and heal our own masculine to be able to be in relationship with others, to be able to step into healthy relationship. And if you're in a twin flame dynamic, this includes your twin flame. So this conversation is going to be a little bit triggering maybe, but we know that the divine feminine's been rising. She's been healing. She's been remembering her power. We can tell that. We can see that in our world, in our society. And I'm noticing now we're at the tipping point where the sacred masculine is also beginning to stir from a very long, dormant sleep. And I would say that this all begins maybe in childhood, we know that, but it's in our society, it's in the way we think, it's in our structures and belief systems around how a masculine should be, what they should look like, what they should be. And I don't really like that sort of programming. I prefer a natural, authentic emergence of impulses. And I always refer back to the yin yang symbol, where we're looking at the balance of opposites. So this is what I think's been going on for literally thousands of years. I believe the masculine energy has been taught to disconnect, to suppress their emotional body, their sentient self, and detach from feeling, and to live from their consciousness being pushed into the mind space because it's easier to control someone who's only in the mind and pull them out of their heart space. If you imagine trying to make men like computers, like transistor radios, computers, like something that is not connected to the heart, to the soul, to the intense sensitivity of the masculine. The one thing that I discovered through working with my masculine energy is that my masculine energy is about 1,000 times more sensitive than my feminine energy. My feminine is strong. It's like rooted to the ground. It has this structure. It feels this power. My masculine energy is all on the periphery as a sensitivity. It's alive, it's awakened, and it's all to do with light and creating thought. And if we start destroying these beautiful receptivity to everything, this creative quality of the mind that comes through the masculine, we begin to move into destruction and destructive power. And if I have the sense of it, and this video doesn't go on for too long, I will try and talk about what that begins to look like. So, could you imagine like having to suppress everything about you that's feeling? And you'll notice that usually this gets suppressed only into the sexual space, so that there is there's that archetypal man, isn't there, where they're kind of alpha male, they're all strong, 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 but the only thing they really have is like potent sexuality. So it's like it's pushed into a different space. It's kind of distorted into a different space. And I would say that if these distorting powers had the power, they would also disconnect this sexuality if they could, because that is a huge power, a resource that's available to us to use to know our Kundalini energy. Now, this conditioning, which I believe goes on in our societies from very young, has created a kind of interference on the receptivity of the masculine energy. And this means a shutting down of your receptivity to what's around you, to being receptive to sensitivity, your senses, your emotions, even receptive to other people, receptive to the feminine. And I would say here that this isn't like an energetic numbing goes on that pushes consciousness out of the body into the mental realm. So it's almost like a lot of men are cut off and they only exist in their mind. And that's kind of sad, isn't it? And there is a push for that anyway, to push everyone into their mind with like all these computers and the screens to keep us all in the mind and make sure that we don't move through all the senses and into our instrument, into our beautiful instrument and the sensory body. So when this happens, you'll notice that anyone embodying masculine energy, which is all of us if you're human, they lose their connection to feeling, to their intuition, and to the flow that is presented in their body as feminine energy, the balance. So it's almost like they become a bit disconnected and split. They become desensitized to their inner truth. Now, you see this on the twin flame, don't you? How the masculine twins, the masculine matrix counterparts, often do not recognize their twin. And when I asked the Angelic Council of Light about this, and I did a video on it, when I asked them about this, it's like they can't. It's like their receptors are distorted. They're literally broken. They're like filled up with something else, where because they're not used to being aligned to divine feminine energy. It's the best example I could think about was like they were full of like some sort of foggy fuzz and they couldn't feel the receptivity to it. Or like they've been eating some like really junky food all the time. Like everyone around them had been this low vibration. And so they couldn't recognize when a higher vibration came in because their receptors were literally dead. So they become this kind of desensitized version of themselves. And when we desensitize ourselves, we lose some of our power, don't we? I'm definitely more powerful when I'm awake and I'm alive and my life forces are flowing and I can feel everything. I know I can like sense and feel like we are incredible beings. We are masters to get into this physical body and this reality. But many of us don't even feel like masters. Many of us feel tired a lot and don't really feel that power of creation within them. So this disconnection often leads to patterns of distraction. Like if something's cut off from you, then you begin to feel low, like low in energy, low in mind, low emotionally. A lot goes into the shadow, and you'll notice that sometimes with the masculine, they tend to chase quick highs, and they're actually led into that as well. We see that with like what happens with children and all sorts of things like sweets and sugar and bright lights and playing video games. And I love all that stuff too, just so you know, I'm not a kind of purist on that level, but I do notice it is part of this desensitization and bringing people out of their body into the screens, into this high, like constantly impulsing someone with a lot of stimulation. It kind of pushes your receptors and then suddenly they kind of crash actually. I think they become very desensitized in the end. And you'll notice people will try, more and more to get what they need, and it pushing it more and more. Actually, they're destroying their receptivity. So this is often linked to sometimes just getting this quick high, temporary validation or external achievements, like because you can't connect fully to oneself, and it's a way of filling the void and ultimately deepens this separation from self by drawing you out of your self. Now, if you are really fully in alignment with yourself, then your impulses from your emperor, empress of your body will tell you what you need. Will tell you when something feels good for you, when something doesn't. It will tell you when to rest. It will tell you when to be active. You'll feel joy. You'll feel sadness. You'll be going through life with like a natural flow of authenticity. But often we're trained, and I think the masculine's trained to go into the mind and then be led from outside so that the impulse doesn't come from inside, it's an outside impulse directing how you should be. And if this happens, then, you know, we have a whole society demonstrating to us how this is problematic. And what is happening now is the sacred masculine is trying to come back in. There's like a reversal process that's unfolding. And so across the collective, the sacred masculine energy is being called back into the body, back into the emotional system, and back into receptivity, being receptive to one another, becoming empathic, becoming a feeling based system of linking to unity consciousness. And this process can feel very uncomfortable, but because it means awakening through that process your receptivity to your emotions, awakening to pain, grief, an emotion, feeling uncomfortable, feeling what's been buried for a long time, allowing it to come to the surface, recognizing it's there, and letting it heal, letting it be open, let it no longer be trapped, let it have life force, let it move through you and out of you as it needs to. It's actually when that happens, you're repatterning yourself. It's an amazing process. Like we have the most amazing energy systems here that we have only a very small amount of understanding about how they work. It also means, and you'll see this in your masculine counterpart, your masculine twin, that they are trying to awaken to sensitivity, to empathy, and high receptivity back into their own consciousness, which is light. It's light frequency that they're re-establishing their own connection with. Now, as these energetic receptors begin to change and that they begin to open and come back into alignment with what is healthy, the masculine will begin to feel again. And he begins to sense the divine feminine energy more clearly within himself because he's more sensitive to it and outside of himself. And this is not just as an external partner, as I've said, but a living presence of creation and the creative potential of life. This is a movement within you that is allowing you to work with the life forces in you. If you numb and dumb down and destroy that receptivity, you're actually reducing and destroying your life force. it's like dying all the time. It's a very unpleasant experience. And I wonder if there are many, many masculines who are suffering, really deeply suffering from this depressed energy because they can't actually find that receptivity to self again. So this is what I would call a desensitization experience, and many men find themselves still caught in that desensitization experience. They're drawn into patterns of overstimulation because that's what we know, and we notice that comes through sometimes addictions or media or just using other people to get high, to get those little high hits. And these distractions, they can create a temporary lift, but disconnect them further from their essence. And the irony is here that the more the masculine runs from sensitivity, the more pain he ultimately experiences because he feels more disconnected, more cut off. And the soul, your sentient nature, cannot thrive in numbness. It is not what you came to experience and be here for. And I find this one of the saddest things is that when I was recovering my masculine energy, which I'm still working on, I realized how everything felt meaningless. Everything I was doing just felt without purpose, without meaning, without anything. It was like completely numb. It was like all, imagine eating the most wonderful food but not being able to taste it. That's what it felt like. But that was the life experience, like going around like not feeling anything. It's a horrible, horrible experience. So when you're coming into this, as a kind of exploration of self. You can do it by looking at what your twin flame's doing. If you're in a twin flame journey, just look at what your counterpart's doing and notice like when they run, that is often a sign that they are unable to cope with this change that's occurring in them because I'm shown by the angelic council that they come into contact with their twin and it's so enlivening that the receptors begin to shake and begin to remove the distortions. And eventually, if you had enough touch points with your twin over time, because they need time in between to realign, to allow their light receptors to heal, if they have enough points of that, then eventually their own energy systems and receptivity is beginning to change and they're beginning to awaken. But this is why it's so scary. This is probably why every time they see their divine feminine, they want to run in the other direction because it's awakening this deep pain within them and it feels deeply uncomfortable. So, as the sacred masculine awakens, he is also learning that true power is not in dominance or control, which we know anyway, but they're learning that through receptivity, to be in full presence with themselves and their power and their sensitivity, which is about openness and the courage to feel, to really feel and have an experience in this awakening, have this amazing experience, be it with their twin or with finding meaning in their life or to find really devotionally what they want to contribute to and what they want to create in their beautiful incarnation they're having on earth. The awakening also is a kind of planetary awakening. I think that's what we're seeing here, and we are just at the beginning. I think this is what the Aquarian age is going to really bring in for us, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to these beautiful men discussing and creating and sharing their experience, their experiences of their life and their experiences of their sensitivity and their creativity. So every time a man opens his heart and allows himself to cry, I think it's kind of beautiful. In fact, I'm very honoured actually. I realise this is unusual, but a lot of men cry in my presence. And I don't make them cry. Don't say that. I don't make them cry, although sometimes sometimes I would like to. No, I'm only kidding. Like a lot of men cry in my presence, and I'm very honoured by that. I think the fact that they feel like they can, the fact that they feel, accepted enough just to be authentic, I think it's a very beautiful thing. And it shows me that in those moments, they are feeling safe. They are feeling that they can be themselves. Maybe they're feeling seen as well. And that actually they're choosing to be in their honesty rather than their ego. and to stand in their truth and not to suppress it or go into conflict or have violence around it, and that you're actually allowing yourself to really feel your sacred masculine template. And I had a very beautiful experience. Or I had two experiences this weekend. One was good, one wasn't so good. And I was sitting around a table with quite a few men. We were working on this special game that my friend has invented, and they were Virgo men. Nearly all of them were Virgo men, and they were sharing their journey, their experiences, their sensitivity, really deeply beautiful, sensitive men. And it was so lovely to hear them. I came away feeling nourished. I came away feeling met and fed, if that makes sense, like really met on a deep level. Because what I'm noticing is there is an intense loneliness. And I was talking about this with another friend. There can be an intense loneliness in modern life. I don't know, maybe it's always been there, but to feel that intimacy, feel that connection, feel like you're really being met in a way, it's hard to find. It's a hard to find thing. And particularly as a female, to find that with masculines without being in a relationship with them is difficult. It's a difficult thing. But I was in this presence of these wonderful men giving their experiences. And actually today it reminded me of it because I got some messages saying how much they were met by it as well. And I'm like, yeah, so beautiful, so beautiful. So I really honor these men who are doing the work, who are moving through these patterns, and they are often ancestral patterns as well. They learnt them from father to son, from father to son. It just goes down, 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 just like the mother patterns that we heal. They are trying to heal this distortion that's gone all the way through. And one of the things I want to share here is I was in Wales in the summer finishing off a course, and we had a Welsh choir come and sing, and it was an all male Welsh choir. It was, and they were singing in Welsh, which is just the most divine experience. And I don't know if you know about Wales, but it is where all the singers come from. You know, it's the singing mountains, it's the singing soil, and they were all singing together, and they were all different ages, and it was so profound feeling of strength, of bonding, of masculinity, of linking to the land, and the fact that they were expressing their masculinity in this creative way really just affected everyone in that room in the most beautiful experience, because there was presence, there was openness, and there was the courage to feel. And we all felt it. We all felt the strength of it. And the fact that they weren't doing it one on one, they were doing it together, and they were presenting and supporting each other. It was so uplifting. It was amazing. So this awakening of the sacred masculine is not just a one-on-one experience. It is a planetary awakening. We're looking at a collective here, an amazing collective that's happening. And this actually applies to us as feminines because the divine feminine needs this. It really needs to be met and held by the sacred masculine. And this is the energy that's going to change our world, because the feminines have got to a certain point of healing. Like we're kind of on board, but now we need the support. We need the counterpart energy to rise up and really help us to move more into our yin energy, because a lot of us have been holding both sides of the polarity. I feel like I'm like always holding both sides of the polarity, and that is part of my journey in this life. That's part of my how this is going to go. And if you know a bit of my story, like even meeting a twin flame, was I never thought I would have a relationship again. I never thought I would actually ever bother with having a relationship with a man, a masculine energy again, or anyone. Actually, I just kind of thought it's never going to happen, because it's been such a disappointing, destructive journey. And it's one of the reasons I realized I had to work on my own masculine. So I want to say here, the divine feminines really need this. They need the masculine to come in, and they need that energy that is protective, protecting life, anchoring stability and love into the collective grid. And also these beautiful masculines creating from their creative love consciousness, their mind consciousness. And I really want to see this new masculine energy. And this new masculine energy is not afraid to be authentic, not afraid to be soft, not afraid to feel, not afraid to surrender, not afraid to express itself in all the different ways, through art, through music, through design, through technology, through engineering, just through being exactly who they are. And to know that they're going to be held in a conscious, receptive, validating, deeply connected light. Like that will be reflected back to them. And I hope we're ready for that as well. Like we will, as feminines, we've been getting ready to reflect that back to them. So if you're on a twin flame journey or you're walking a path in this awakening, just remember that the sacred masculine is rising now. I can feel it. I can feel it happening. We're going to see it in tiny little bits. We're going to see it moving forward. And he's remembering. And part of his healing depends on our collective willingness to really hold this process in compassion, to model emotional safety, and to keep embodying truth. Because do you remember how messy it is to like clean up our own divine feminine wounds? Well, the masculines, it's going to be messy too. They have this process happening on a physical level as well as an emotional, spiritual, mental level. And these are their receptors actually having to change, actually having to heal. And so this is a structural change as well as just finding all the effects of what's going to happen after that. And this is going to happen one person at a time. And they're going to need holding in this process. They will. So thank you so much for listening. I feel like I've rambled on a little bit, but if that helps you and gives you an idea of what kind of vibrations we're working with, and it's going to be this much higher frequency of the masculine that's going to be coming in. And it's really important that particularly if you're mothering some starseed children, that you really care for your masculine in the right way and your feminine, of course, both. And that we try and set up these authentic templates for ourselves to live by, but also for the children coming. So thank you so much for listening to me today. If you like what I'm talking about, then like, subscribe, share these videos. I'm getting more followers and that's really lovely to see. And I really want you to know that this journey is actually leading us all into a new paradigm of love, a new paradigm of relating. And I, for one, am relieved at that because it really looked like things were getting pretty bleak, pretty dark here on earth. Like, and I'm glad that this new impulse is rising. So stay radiant, feel that compassion, and let's hold space for your own masculine to evolve and rise, and also for your twin flame as well.